Holmes and Rahe inventory. This is from a journal called Occupational Medicine. And I'm just going to read this one page for you to help put it in context before we look at the actual exercise. So in 1967, psychiatrists Thomas Holmes and Richard Rahe examined over 5,000 patients' medical records to determine whether stressful events cause illnesses. The patients ranked a list of 43 life events based on a relative score. Each event was called a life-changing unit and had a different weight for stress. So each of the 43 events had a different measurement or weight of stress, right? More events means a higher score. The higher the score and the larger the weight of each event, the more likely the patient would become ill. The results were published as the Social Readjustment Rating Scale, now commonly known as the Holmes and Rahe stress scale. Subsequent validation supported the links between stress and illness. So the premise is that stresses can be ranged by the degree of change or upheaval they typically cause in individuals' lives. So if it requires a bigger change, it is more stressful, right? Whether that's positive or negative, such as moving houses or moving cities. The scale lists common stressful events and arbitrarily assigns a value of 50 life-changing units to the stress caused by marriage. So this is, marriage causes a score of 50 life-changing units, so stress. Interpretation of the overall score is difficult because of large interpersonal differences in individuals' ability to cope and their particular reactions to stress. So some people can cope with higher levels of stress for a longer period of time, but that doesn't mean that they're immune to it, right? A total score of under 150 is good, suggesting a low level of stress and low probability of developing a stress-related disorder. So stress-related disorders are those disorders that have a psychosomatic aspect to them. So we're talking chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety, digestive issues, fibromyalgia, things that are more difficult to figure out, right? Where were we? If the score is over 300, statistically, there is almost an 80% chance of getting ill in the next 2 years. So if you score over 300 in the exercise that we're about to do, there is an 80% chance that you will become ill in the next 2 years. And if the score is 150 to 299, the chances are about 50%. And at under 150, there's 30% chance of illness, right? So this scale seems to suggest that change in life requires an effort to adapt and then an effort to regain stability. So it was originally developed in 1967. It was validated again in 1970 with 2,500 US sailors that did the exercise, right? And validated again later. I can't remember the actual date. I think it was 1978, right? And it was found that it was actually extremely consistent. So the conclusion is that this scale is surprisingly consistent despite the cross-cultural differences one would expect.